I'm just going to do the audio of this. This is Kevin Samuels talking about me, but also Red Pill creator. So here, let's see if you can. I'm not going to do the video because I don't want to get a copyright strike.
You at your age.
Well, I think
like
life, for me, life is about people. For me, life is about relationships. For me, life is made better when you have human connections along with material possessions. For me, I don't worry about all the problems of the world. I worry about my world and what I can control and the value I deliver to others and the value I get from others. So I can be just as aware of human nature, female nature, male nature, and still chart a path. This is why I think a lot of the content creators who make a lot of this content, why do you think most of the guys who make male content are in long-term significant relationships and as they're aware as they are? I'm not talking about the young guys. I'm talking about the older guys.
Because they're at the time when they secured their woman, they were in a different period of time where the women were different, the generation were different. And those people say it, that if I were a man in this generation living today, I would not get married.
Who says
Rollo
that?
Tomasi.
And follow Rollo.
Pregnant pause.
No, I follow everyone. I'm open to hearing all sides, but
I mean,
scary.
Look,
I don't think you knew what to say, but
I
here we
don't
go.
see many millionaires or billionaires who are single. And I know, and here's the thing, I don't know Rollo personally. I don't know if you're quoting him correctly or not, but I will tell you this. I judge outcomes.
Mm-hmm.
I know most men who, especially men over 40, who are in these spaces are in long-term relationships. Most men are in relationships. See, what I hear a lot, I hear a lot of guys preaching marriage is bad and this is bad, da 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 da. And behind the scenes, they're in relationships, they're simping, and see, that's why I think, I'm not going to say something because I don't want to get dragged into a bunch of controversy because it ain't my world. I think I would rather be a high value man, making myself a man and having leverage to be able to control the options in my world versus trying to set myself up to defend against an undefined foe that's a female. You can get fucked over by business partners. You can get fucked over by the world. But at you're 25, I wouldn't want to live so defensive and worried about stuff that's outside of my control. If I'm hearing you correctly, you had an 8-month relationship, and before that, hookups. Not a lot of experience.
Right.
So then stop trying to figure it out and collect experiences. Get out, live your life. Don't make any babies.
Understood. And if I may ask you one last question, Kevin.
Sure.
So what is your philosophy on marriage? Yours as in you as an individual.
For me personally?
Yeah.
I'd get married again.
There you go.
So you're open to getting married.
I've been very clear on that. Because my first 2 marriages, I didn't know what I know now. And it's not a matter of money, although money does help. It's a matter of even if I can say, that's why I never talk crap about my exes. When if relationships fail, I say the responsibility for me and my failed relationships ultimately falls on me. And I talk to plenty of people who make content, but who are these guys single? Are they?
Most.
Huh?
Oh, I'm sorry. Could you repeat the last question?
Are they single?
The men making content?
Most of the people who make this diehard anti-marriage, anti-relationship content, are they? See, it's. Man, I don't want to go down that path. Me, look, I don't want to be 75 years old, 65 years old.
This is it.
With a rotation.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not. I mean, this life is about relationship. That's what it comes down to. And relationships, by their very nature, are risks.
Right.
So, just like you put your money in the stock market, how much risk are you willing to accept? Well, it's based upon the potential outcome. But if you're going to deal with women, women are always going to be a risk. Don't get into more risk than you're willing to deal with. Have you ever gambled before? Like,
all right, well, that's good enough. I think he keeps going on here. That's actually a pretty good little clip. I wish I could play the whole damn thing for you guys. Two of the takeaways that I had from this is, first of all, and if Kevin watches this, and I'm sure somebody will link him to this little section here right at the end of this show. This is not about Kevin. This is about the caller, actually, not Kevin per se. I think the misperception that people have about me is that I'm against marriage, and I will probably discuss this with Elijah Schaefer. I'm sure this question will come up. Well, you've been in the red pill for you've been doing what you've been doing for 20 years, right? Yeah, I have. How can I be so down on marriage? I'm not down on marriage. Certainly not down on my marriage, anyways. As I said in my fourth book right here. In this, where is it? There's a very, like, right in the center of the book, right? There is a very thick passage, probably the longest chapter I wrote in the book was titled Marriage, right? And of course I cover it from a red pill perspective, but also a religious and socio-religious perspective, and what marriage has become. I very much would love each and every one of you to have a great relationship with a woman, if you're a man, or vice versa. I would love to see heterosexual, marriages between a man and a woman. And because it has been my opinion, and I've stated this God knows how many times, that men and women are better together than we are apart. We have innate complementary strengths and weaknesses that are a part of our elements, let's just say, of who we are as men and women. The guys will say, well, I'm a standalone man. I'm a Sigma male. I can do whatever I want to. I don't need no woman. I only need her to have sex and have a baby for me, and then I can take care of the rest. Or I'm superior. No, you're not. I've said this. Maybe that's what you think you are, but it doesn't necessarily negate, just because that's the way you think about yourself. Or maybe you can do that. I'm not saying that guys can't successfully do that, or even women do. Women better get used to that idea, because a very large percentage of them will be single and childless by the time they're between 25 and 45 by year 2030, according to Morgan Stanley and the rise of the she economy. Get used to the idea of being single, ladies. Get used to the idea of being a spinster. Guys, get used to being alone. Get used to being a MGTOW. Get used to being black pill. Get used to jerking off. Get used to being, berated by old school guys like Jordan Peterson for jerking off or for not trying. Get used to that, because until you realize that men and women are complements to one another, you're never going to come to that conclusion. And ladies, you too. If you want to put people, if you're all about relationships, as Kevin has said, life is about relationships. I think life's a whole lot more, than just relationships. But, we're talking about a guy who's been divorced twice and is open to the idea of getting married one more time at 52. Prospects for marriage for a 52-year-old man. Trust me, I'm 53. Prospects for marriage for a 52-year-old guy are much different in 2021 and much different at this age. What does that look? What does a good scenario look like at that stage? Like, you're going to get married for the third time. Well, I know better now, and I won't make the same mistake. You just make new mistakes. You'll just make new mistakes. Seriously, because you're not prepared for what's coming down the road here. It's easy to say, well, women need to be held accountable. Yeah, okay, that's great, but you still have to be red pill aware enough to make the red pill sort of your second nature, to understand game, to the point where it's not a game anymore. It's just who you are, and accept that, women are the way they are and you are the way you are. And so when I talk about how men and women are complements, innate evolved complements to one another, what that means is that, for sake of illustration, my strengths compensate for my wife's weaknesses, and my weaknesses are compensated for by my wife's strengths. And people will go, oh my gosh, what are you? I'm invincible. I don't have any weaknesses. Well, there's things that women are better at than men are. And there's things that, lots of things that men are better at than women are. And when we get into trouble, the reason why we're in the shit stew that we're in right now is because we think we're not. Because we think we're standalone. Because we think we don't need the other. Because we think that we are blank slates. Women think that, well, I never needed a husband. I never needed a father for my kids. I'm just as good a father as any man could be. No, you're not. In fact, you put your children at a severe disadvantage because you believe that. Because women don't believe in complementarity between men and women. Are you kidding? Not today. They don't think they can trust men at all. Women think that men are just big children mostly. That's where it really kind of boils down to. But yeah, here I am, and I had to. I'll throw this up here as well. Because it's here at the end. Gosh, I wish I would have got to this a little bit earlier. But I have been looking at this. I think it was Brittany Martinez. I'm looking at her thread right now on Twitter, and this is pertinent to what we're talking about. Red pill guys on the internet. Women are hoes. Also, red pill guys, don't get married. You'll lose everything. Just sleep around. Well, typically the women who are not sleeping around are doing it because they're waiting for marriage. So maybe that's why you can't find them. Well, I think it's a misnomer to think that all women are just looking for marriage. They're looking for marriage to a high value guy that they believe that all of them are entitled to. We see that every day on Fresh and Fit. Hell, we see it on every goddamn show that Kevin has ever done. Still to this day. Okay, why? Why is that? Why are we even in the point right now where we can make a successful podcast on holding women accountable? Why is that? Why is that grist for the mill these days? Well, because women think they can do it all, or they think they are entitled to the best of the best, rather than being realistic about their positions and about their situations. Why is that? Well, because their attention is at a premium today. Affirmation is at a premium today. So, where do you take it from there? Now, I'm going to get this question, I'm sure, from Elijah. I've already got it from Lauren Southern at one point, where people say, well, how can you advocate for spinning plates and then at the same time be upset when you can't find a quality woman? I'm not advocating that. I don't believe in the quality woman. I believe that that's an ideal. And I have said that since day one, and people have thrown me under the bus for that. It is just as much an ideal as one-itis. It is just as much an ideal as the soulmate myth. You don't just find this perfect one, this needle in a haystack, this jewel in the rough. You create a good relationship. You build a relationship. You don't just find that relationship. Now, that said, it's not because men are fearful of marriage. It's not, oh, they're terrified and they just don't want to do it. They're just opting out. No, they're not just opting out. They see it for what it is because they are reminded of it every single day on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook, on YouTube. Name the platform. And every day you can doom scroll all day long on Twitter and find example after example after example. They don't want to get married because it's an unconscionable contract. Men have more leeway and more power outside of marriage over their own lives, more power outside of marriage than they do inside. It is what's known as an unconscionable contract. And if you want to know what that is, grab book 4. I outline it there. That is a legal term, unconscionable contract. What it really means is, like, if you knew all the details and you knew everything about the contract, no sane person outside of being coerced into it would ever agree to it. That's really what marriage has become for men, and by design too, I should say. So how do we change that? How do we change that? I'm not against marriage. I think the idea of being a man and wife, I think the idea of at least some kind of institutionalized monogamy is a good idea. It's good for building families. It's good for the children. It's good for, it's the better, what is it? The bedrock of Western society, right? Man, woman, babies, and a dog, right? That's been the bedrock for a long time. And not just, and even if you don't want the nice, white Anglo-Saxon Protestant version of that, there's other versions of that too. But there's at least a pretense of monogamy when it comes to parental investment. That's been the success of our species for a very long time, parental investment. And even if it's like not a lifetime commitment, you've still got to be committed to it for at least a while enough to provide protection, provisioning, and parental investment. Well, how do we go about doing that? How do we go about, women's mating strategies are adversarial to men's. How do we go about making something that is like, should it be a lifetime thing? I don't know. Should it be a legal thing? Should it just be a covenant marriage rather than like involving the state? There's arguments about that too. Should there be any kind of protections for men or women at all? You want to get together? We're all going to agree to this. Yes, I do. Do you? Yes. Okay, great. No state, no nothing. Is that a solution? Because we got to find some way to do this, because right now it ain't working. And I think that's laughable. Sorry, Kevin, I don't mean this as a flame, but I think it's laughable to say I would get married again after 2 unsuccessful marriages. And I don't know how many kids he has. I know that there's rumors that Kevin Samuels has kids in Oklahoma or something like that. I don't know the details, but fact remains is, if you think that marriage is a good idea in 2021, I have to question whether or not you are still thinking in terms of the old order, 20th century and earlier, or you're thinking of in terms of empirical data, statistics, and what we know about this and about about marriage in the 21st century. That's why I have a problem. Why do you have a problem with Jordan Peterson? Because it's old order thinking. We have to find something, and it's not promiscuity. And it's not poly, because poly leads down a very dark path, because we're not built for poly. Not in the formal sense anyways. Are human beings promiscuous? Absolutely they are. But is poly the answer to the polyamory, the answer to that? No, because we have what's called the human jealousy response, and we also have mate guarding. So that ain't going to work. We got to find another workaround. What is that going to be? Right now, I can tell you exactly what that's going to be. It's going to be women sharing the alpha male while everybody else, all you guys, all your bloodline goes extinct as you jerk off at home, as you opt out of the game. Guess what? All the people who successfully reproduced before you, all their efforts were for shit, because you've got porn. You've got whatever. I'm not saying it's your moral imperative. I'm just spelling out the details here. I'm just spelling out the reality of the situation that you're in. Your bloodline will go extinct. Your DNA will cease to exist. Maybe your brother can make it work. I don't know. But there has to be something else. And it ain't marriage, at least not in the way, and not in the old order way of thinking about it. So when people and this, again, this was about the caller, and I'll tell you why it's about the caller, because the guy was saying, well, Rollo said that he would never get married again. I would not get married. And Kevin Samuels, makes a common mistake, and I can't blame him, because he's just ignorant of what I've said. And I don't mean that in a bad way. He just doesn't know. I've said in the past, I said, if I were to find myself suddenly single, or if God forbid, I was a widower or something like that tomorrow, I would never get married again at 53 years old. I've had a very good relationship with my wife. I still continue to. I love her. I would probably be just emotionally devastated if, she were to die or what, because that's the only way I can think of it. But, if I recovered from that and everything was fine, and I would say, okay, well, great. I'd probably date. I'd probably get back into it, but I would never marry again. And this guy wants to make it about like, oh, well, things were so much different back then. Well, yeah, they were, but men were still men and women were still women. And we still had adversarial, sexual strategies towards one another. The fundamentals don't change. Just the time, environment, and the context change. The machine doesn't change. The firmware doesn't change. Maybe the software changes over the time, but I would not get married again. Well, Kevin says, well, all these guys who are out there in their manosphere, these guys are already in relationships. Does that mean that I can't be like, here's the thing, like how, as I said in the very beginning of this podcast, either to trad cons, Rolo can't be red pill or can't be married because he's red pill. And black pill doomers and MGTOWs and, you know, hardliner, even white pill guys. Rolo can't be red pill because he's married. Rolo can't be married because he's red pill. I don't get to win either way. So all I can do is my best. All I can do is report this stuff. All I can do is give you sort of the praxeological take on all of this. All I can do is present 20 years of work and let you guys sort of sort out the rest, because we're in a different generation, right? We're in a different environment. We're in a different context right now. So I would not get married again. And people say, well, you're just scared to lose half of your stuff. No, not really. At this stage, I'm like, how many more years do you think I got? God forbid, you know, especially after Pat passing away. I want to do something significant with the remaining years of my life. Thank you very much. But I don't want to get married again. I wouldn't under these circumstances, at least in the institution. I'm not against marriage. I'm against the way we do it right now. And to say, oh, I'd be into it, let's go do it again. Third time's a charm. Dude, have you learned nothing? Hear you nothing that I say? Have you learned nothing? Not until that institution changes or something better comes along. I'm not saying that men and women shouldn't be together. I'm not saying that men and women shouldn't have relationships. I think they did. I think they're better together than we are apart. I think we're natural complements. I'm just saying that the way we are putting it together and institutionalizing it is an all downside risk for men right now. That's what I'm saying, including myself. I know. I realize that. I've been accused of this all the time. Oh, yeah, Rolo's just married because it's cheaper to keep her. No, I enjoy my wife. Thank you. I'm in love with her. I have sex with her. It's awesome. I wish you could have it too. But I would not in this day and age say, let's all get married. It's so great. I'm not Matt Walsh. I'm not going to be like, well, you know, a little lady. How did I get so lucky? Oh, my wife's lucky to have me. Are you fucking kidding me? I'll be the first one to say it. I introduced my wife to you. I will say that right to your face. Man, she's lucky to have me. No, you're so funny. Huh? No, I'm being straight up honest. She is lucky to have me. Go look at the, what is the female delusion calculator. She's fucking real lucky to have somebody like me. Like fraction of 1% lucky. But I'm not going to be a dick about it. I'm not going to be arrogant about it. It's just, that's what it is. You have more control and more power over your life outside of marriage than you will ever have in it right now. And that is not a flaw in relationships. It is a flaw in how we do marriage, and it is a flaw in what the sexual marketplace, the global sexual marketplace, has become in the 21st year of the 21st century, in our data age, in the new order right now. That's the flaw. It's not wanting a relationship. Guys want a relationship. I asked the guys yesterday on Rule 0. I said, I think I asked Sterling of all people. I said, hey, do you want kids in the future? She's like, yeah, I do. I want to have a wife and kids and blah, blah, blah. It's like, how are you going to facilitate that? I don't know. None of all the guys who are single, like he was saying, all these guys have wives and all these guys have long-term girlfriends and they're all about relationships and you shouldn't be afraid of it too. No, you should be not afraid of it, but you should certainly be judgmental. You should certainly be discerning. You should certainly be wary of it. You should certainly understand your own value in that relationship, and then decide for yourself whether that's worth the risk or it's not worth the risk. He's right about that. Relationships are risk. I don't care what they are, whether it's a business relationship or your family or your wife or whatever. There's always inherent risk in it. Is it worth the risk? Is the juice worth the squeeze? Most guys will go, no. Wait till you get to that point. What's funny is, like, people say the juice is worth the squeeze, but these are the first guys that if they get a blowjob, they fall in love with the girl. You want that. Guys want that. Women want that. We want relationship. We want that complementarity, and we desire it so much. What gets in the way is this fucked up software. It's this fucked up idea that of blank slate equalism and social constructionism. And are you a boy or are you a girl? And you're not alpha or you're not beta, blah, blah, blah. All that shit gets in the way of what you really want, which is relationships. He's not wrong about that. It's just that how we do it right now is fundamentally flawed.